Another new thing they've done for effects, which I think a lot of people will be very happy with, the ability to put a mask on an effect. So let's take this particular clip here, and maybe I want to stick a mosaic effect on that clip and hide somebody's face. Well, obviously I stick the mosaic effect on there and immediately you can't see a thing because it applies it to the entire clip. Just made the dots a little bit smaller there, but still totally useless. But on the effect, you might notice here I have these three little things. They're on lots and lots of effects. That will make you an elliptical mask. That'll make you a polygon, you have a four-sided square or rectangle, and this makes one you can draw yourself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and as soon as I clicked at it, you notice I've got a mask has gone on the window up here. I'm going to grab it, move it, shove it over this guy's head. There's a little thing on the edge there, which if I grab that feathers the edges. If it's all the way down the bottom, you've got a really sharp edge between the effect and the picture. If you move that out a bit, it becomes a bit softer. And I've shoved it over his head, and now I want to track his head. Now I've shoved it at the middle of the shot. I did that for a reason, mainly because that's where I was. But I can't really put it at the start because he's not there at the start. But what I want to do is I want to get Premiere to follow his head. And that's what this other bit down here does. So I chose the mask. As soon as I put a mask on there, you get these extra mask options. Like the mask feather is that little handle I was sliding at the side. The mask opacity, obviously I can fade it in and out. Obviously everything can be keyframed, etc. The mask expansion means you've got a certain size of mask but you wish it was a lot bigger and you don't want to redraw it, where you can add a few pixels on it and make it bigger, or you can take some off and make it smaller. What I really want to do is I want to come to these things, which is the motion tracking. That's will go me back one frame. That'll just play backwards. That one will play forwards, and that'll go forwards one frame. Most of the time what I do is I stick the mask in there and I press that button and I say, right, follow that head. And it's now going from where I started to the end of the clip. And with any luck, it'll follow his head down to when he sits in the chair. Most of his head's disappeared behind his shoulder, or it's come back again. And okay, it did fairly well. Fluffed it up at the end. Let's go back to the end bit. It's about there that it goes wrong. And what I'm going to do is just move it over and carry on. Fluffed it up again there. So where does it go wrong? It's getting confused here because of the computer, which is quite common. Motion tracking does that sort of thing. Yay! Just about managed it. Now I need to do the start, so I'm going to go just before the first keyframe. Use the standard tools to get to that keyframe, which is the one where I started, and I'm going to track backwards. And it'll probably go completely doodle-alley when he's off screen. I'd say that worked pretty well all round. Click off the effect, press the play button. Yep, nicely blotted out person's face. What it's done is it's created a series of keyframes for the tracking. So of course you can just go to any of those keyframes and you can adjust it if you want to. But yeah, basically it's a way of tracking things across the screen. If you have After Effects, that does tracking better. After Effects has got more tools for tracking. It's got a really nice thing called the Roto brush. It's got Mocha in it, which is another tracking program. It's now got a face tracker as well. So it's got much better tracking. But of course, if you don't have After Effects, you've now got this in Premiere. And you can use it to do like I have, to apply a mask to a specific area and blot somebody's face out, which is, I know, something a lot of people want to do. Or you could use it just to isolate somebody's face and maybe add a bit of sharpness around their face. Suppose the shot was slightly out of focus, where you can just put a mask around somebody's face, fuzz up the edges a lot, and then you can maybe pretend that the thing was in focus. But it's a nice thing to be added in. And it's on practically all of the effects. Another thing you can use it for is making things transparent. Let's take this little hut and throw it across the top of the shot. So now I've got this hut. I want this hut to materialize over the top of our two talking people. I want to cut the hut out and replace the background completely. You can do that with a mask as well. What I'm going to do is make sure the clip is selected, go to the effects control window, and then go to opacity. And I'm going to click on my pen tool and draw a mask. So click, keep clicking, click. The points have to be reasonably far apart, so you can see I'm not getting them at all in the right places. So I'm going to get these roughly in the right place. I have to tell you it would have been a lot easier if I'd zoomed in the first place. Easiest way to do that, obviously just drag the thing out and make it bigger. Or you can come up to the little stack, go to panel group settings and say maximize panel so I can see it. And what I could have done then is it would have made it easier to put these in, but that's fine, I can adjust them afterwards. It's not the end of the world. So quickly just pop in here and get this set up. Okay, so there we are, I've now done that, but you can see automatically what's happened. Let me just restore the size. Because I did this on the opacity, that shape has now created a mask and cut the little hut out. Now in this case, left a little bit of white there, maybe I should change the points, but maybe this is another area where I could maybe use my mask expansion and put a bit of a negative expansion on that and just make the whole thing a bit smaller and maybe feather up the edges a bit more or a bit less. But there we are, cut a hole in something. If I wanted to fly in, I can use the regular motion path to do that. So let's have it sit about there, turn on the keyframing, go to the start, fly it off. Press the play button and in it flies. I can animate that shape as well. So if I come down to mask path here, previously we used this to motion track things, but I could also use it to animate the shape. So if I click on the little stopwatch and turn on the animation, and then move a bit further down, click on the word mask to highlight the little blue points, and then I can start to do things like move these things around. And what will happen is the mask will move as the thing plays. So it's full-blown masking inside of Premiere. Now this house, it doesn't move very much. Imagine I wanted to mask Ringo's head out, which is called rotoscoping. I'd do that and I'd have to adjust the mask around the edge of his face quite a lot if I wanted it to be really accurate. And that's because rotoscoping is a pain in the neck. So if you want to do really complicated masks, Premiere can do it, it's just hard work. This is where After Effects has better tools for doing masks, which will come out with the same result as I can do in Premiere, but they would just be easier. But yeah, full-blown masking inside of Premiere, which is absolutely brilliant. Masking with motion tracking as well, with everything else.